You know you're late in the season when you reach the absolute classic that is Event 14 today with Collision. Hello everyone, I'm your host Quack, and right now the Ivy League have a 10-point lead over the 4K Pixels, and the Team Pixie, the Red Rockets, Stingrays, and Snapping Turtles are still in contention. But of course today we have Collision. It's very different from how we saw it in the previous two seasons. This time there are no grooves on the track, and instead there are dominoes along the edges where everybody can fall off. But of course it needs no introduction. The format is still similar. Groups of four will be colliding with each other in a group stage, and then the top two in each group will advance to the bracket stage. This time there are going to be points, though. Instead of being based on total points scored in the matches, you get points for winning and losing matches. We'll explain more of that when we get to the groups, but first we have the demo between the Event Horizons and Galactic Empire. A lot of marbles spilling off, but the Empire still have two remaining on, and it looks like they will be staying, and there they are. The Event Horizons had that one on the bottom right that's managed to stay on, using those dominoes to their advantage. You can see right there, just barely bumping into them, and those are the kind of strategy moves that you have to make in order to win at this event. It's a very strategic event, and that's why it's been returning so many seasons. Here are the groups seeded by the standings as per usual, and the Ivy League will be up first in Group A up against the Loaves of Bread, King Crabs, and Avocados. Here we go now between the King Crabs and Ivy League. As I mentioned before, winning is now much more important than it was last season. As we're right underway, the Ivy League have three split down the middle of the King Crabs, and it looks like that's how it will stay. The King Crabs only have two left on, and in a 3-2 match, the Ivy League will be winning. It looked like they're between Bettina and Fiddler, the two MVMs from the previous two seasons, sitting right next to each other, perhaps getting a few good jabs in, trying to show who's the best MVM. But either way, the Ivy League winning here is already a great start for them, trying to get yet another top half. They still haven't gotten a single bottom half finish since the very first with balancing. But of course now the Avocados and the Loaves of Bread, the two perhaps weaker teams here, as the Avocados shoot sort of a spear right through the middle of the Loaves of Bread. It looks like we're going to have another 3-2 match in favor of the green team. The Avocados will be getting this one. The Loaves of Bread just not strategic at all there. They had a couple to fly off immediately without even making contact with the Avocados. Not the strategy you want to be using here, but we're already seeing you can definitely get some high scores here with the dominoes all on. And of course, there are still some of those wooden obstacles on the sides to protect you from going off completely. As now we move on to the Loaves of Bread and the King Crabs, both teams that would really like a win here. And the King Crabs just explode out where they lose all but one of their marbles. The Loaves of Bread still have that one meandering. I think they will fall off. Yes, they will, just at the corner. But it will not matter. The Loaves of Bread are winning this one 2-1. The Loaves of Bread getting this much-needed win. At this point, the King Crabs might be toast here if they can't get something going with two losses in a row now. The Loaves of Bread might have a chance if they can win their next one, but of course we're going to have to see. As now we move on to the Ivy League and the Avocados, the two winners here. Whoever wins this is almost sure to advance. The Avocados lose one immediately. The Ivy League still have three on. It looks like one of them, oh, will they fall off? They do use the domino, and that means a 3-1 matchup will be a decisive victory for the Ivy League. Our championship leaders have all but guaranteed already. They will be moving on to the bracket stage. The Avocados, unfortunately, it's starting to unravel here. They do still have that win. It's really down to them and the Loaves of Bread for that second advancement spot. A very scrumptious-sounding combo. But first, we have the Avocados up against the King Crabs. The King Crabs really need a miracle here. The Avocados really need to win this one, but they lose all of their marbles again. The King Crabs still have three on, and the King Crabs trying to redeem themselves here, getting a good result in this match. I'm not sure if that's going to be able to counterbalance those matchups they had before that were pretty weak, but either way, this is very bad news for the Avocados. The Loaves of Bread now have a big opportunity. If they can win their next matchup, I think they will guarantee advancement. And now here we go between the Loaves of Bread and the Ivy League. The Ivy League just playing for bragging rights here. But will the Loaves of Bread be able to do something here? It looks like they still have three on the board. The Ivy League still have one with Ivy Lace, but I don't think it's going to matter, even as they're rolling away. And with a 3-1 matchup, the Loaves of Bread have sealed themselves into the bracket round. Very impressive for the Loaves of Bread. They're usually stronger at those individual events, but of course the Collision is one of those team events that has appeared so many times. Every team has a lot of experience with it, but the Ivy League and Loaves of Bread, the two teams before you, will be the ones moving on, and yes, they will. With those point system, you can see you get 2 points for winning, you get 1 point for a draw, but of course nobody got any draws in this matchup. As now we move on to Group B, first up the Pollen Puffs and the Red Rockets, one team that's always been at the top of the standings, one that is not quite, but either way, the Red Rockets still have all 5 of their marbles on, and the Pollen Puffs have one that fall off to the top left, and that is going to be a perfect sweep. The Red Rockets win 5-0. We've never seen anything like that in Collision before. 5-0 is an unthinkable score, and the Pollen Puffs unfortunately going to get a very devastating loss, but the Red Rockets doing what they need to do here. They've somehow put themselves into the podium battle, and now with a 5-0 win, that's a great start for them. Now the Stingrays and Azure Diamonds have a lot to show to try and match that first matchup, but it looks like the Azure Diamonds also will be getting a clean sweep. Not quite as much a 5-0, but a 3-0 will still be very impressive. They had one that almost looked like they were going to meander off to the left side, but they still managed to stay on, and that means the team in blue will be getting the win here over the Stingrays. The Stingrays are one of those teams in the podium battle right now with the Red Rockets, and losing here is not a good sign. As now we move on to the Azure Diamonds and the Pollen Puffs. Both of these teams really would like a win here, but the Azure Diamonds, they were looking like they're going to get a draw, but now the Pollen Puffs lose one as well. It will be a draw, 2-2 instead of 3-3. Both teams losing one to sort of meandering afterward, and those dominoes we're seeing are not quite as safe as some of the marbles might have thought. That one Pollen Puffs marble rolling away very slowly, thought they might have had it in the bag, but they will be losing that one, and that is a big point loss for the Pollen Puffs. Now the Red Rockets and Stingrays, a very direct matchup here. Both of these teams really need to advance. And right now the Red Rockets have lost a lot of their marbles. The Stingrays have one that's sort of lodged in the corner there. Very strategic from them. But the Stingrays will be getting it done here, 4-2. The Stingrays definitely redeeming themselves here. They needed some points from this win, and the Red Rockets losing, it might not be as free for them as we might have thought, despite being such a great team at team events. They will still have to fight for it here. As now we move on to the Stingrays and the Pollen Puffs. At this point, the Pollen Puffs need a miracle. Meanwhile, the Stingrays just trying to get the win here, but it looks like they're going to lose a lot of their marbles. It's 2-1 now, and unless the Pollen Puffs lose any others, which it doesn't look like they will, the Pollen Puffs will be winning this one. The Stingrays, this is a very bad sign for them. They were already basically breaking even on points and losing this one here. Oh, wait, did they have one that I didn't notice? They did. They had one on the top right. I didn't even notice them, and it will be a draw. That is a big saving grace for them. The Stingrays might still have a chance, but now we move on to the Azure Diamonds and Red Rockets. Perhaps the two teams poised to advance here, depending on how this goes. It looks like the Azure Diamonds lose a couple. The Red Rockets have lost a couple, but that one rolling away for the Diamonds. Will that other one roll away as well? Yes, they will. And the Red Rockets are losing one. Everybody is meandering off. Oh, not quite. Will they stay on? Oh, just barely they can't. But it will not matter. 2-1. It will be a win for the Red Rockets. A win for the Red Rockets perhaps describes a lot of their past two seasons, and it looks like it might be this one as well. As with another win here, I think they can guarantee advancement, and yes, they will. Their fans in celebration, as the Azure Diamonds also going to move on just barely over the Stingrays, the tiebreaker based on point differential, where the Stingrays unfortunately will lose out. But now we move on to Group C with the 4K Pixels and the Stone Golems. The Stone Golems lose almost all of their marbles. The 4K Pixels shoot through the middle, and that we've seen that strategy works out well for them. But it looks like they're losing one. They're going to lose another. Will they? Yes, they will. The 4K Pixels fumble it here. Bad momentum control. And those marbles that look like they had it are going to roll off and cause a draw. A terrible result for the 4K Pixels. They've already seen the Ivy League advance to the next round, and a draw here with what looked like a guaranteed victory for them is very poor. Now we move on to the Jelly Jammers and the City Lights, though. One team at the top of the standings, one not quite so much, but it looks like the Jelly Jammers still have 4 on the board. The City Lights, well, maybe not quite at the top, but toward the middle of the standings, one near the bottom, but the Jelly Jammers will be getting it done here with 4 marbles all sticking very close together, and that strategy is going to pay off for them. Of course, the Jelly Jammers, the collision was the B-League finale where they managed to snatch that overall podium spot, and it looks like their experience is coming in handy as now they're up against the 4K Pixels, the only team here who hasn't done this event before, as it looks like right now the Jelly Jammers might be winning against them, but it looks like, oh, they will lose that one marble. Will the Pixels lose another one, though? We've seen they're poor at momentum control, but they will still hold on just barely in the top left, and that means I believe this will be a closer match for them that they definitely needed, considering how close it came in that first matchup. 3-3, another draw for the Pixels. Well, of course, that means it's going to be very close for the championship challengers trying to get a rookie championship with only 2 events to go after this. Now the City Lights and the Stone Golems. Here's the Stone Golems have a very chaotic formation, but somehow it's working. They have 3 marbles on the board to 2 for the City Lights. And it looks like it's about to be 1 for the City Lights as they find the one window of dominoes, and that's going to be the end of it. The Stone Golems get the win in this one. Our Season 2 hosts have been very quiet so far this season. They've been quiet throughout the majority of their careers. The Stone Golems usually not high or low in the standings, and so far that trend is continuing, but we'll see if they can make something happen in this event. Now they're up against the Jelly Jammers for their final matchup. Both of these teams in their final matchup. It looks like the Jelly Jammers, though, still have 3 on the board. Now it's going to turn into 2, and will the Stone Golems lose one? Oh, no, they managed to curl it back to the wood, and that means it's going to be another draw. 2-2 from the Golems and Jammers. We'll see if either one of these teams is going to be able to advance. It's going to be close. I think the Jammers have a bit of an advantage with their success in the past couple rounds, but we'll have to see the Stone Golems as well. It's going to be close. These teams both have a chance. As now move on to the City Lights and 4K Pixels. The Lights might already be screwed depending on how their results go, but the Pixels might be even more so. They only have one marble left on the board, and the City Lights with Lamp, they're trying to stay on, and they will manage to settle right there on the blue domino, and that means it will be a victory for them. The City Lights, I think, were already guaranteed to not advance, but they will be dragging the 4K Pixels down with them. 2 draws and a loss will definitely not be enough, and the 4K Pixels are unfortunately not going to be making it. The Ivy League have a big opportunity now with only 2 events left. There you can see in the red, with only 2 points, the Pixels are done. They will still beat the City Lights, but that means the Stone Golems and Jelly Jammers are moving on. Now Team Pixie and the Flying Saucers. The Flying Saucers split down the middle. An interesting strategy, trying to play collision without actually colliding, and it does not work at all. The Team Pixie will get a total free win here, 2-0. I don't know how they managed to part the seas like that. The Flying Saucers just did not want to make contact at all, but either way, perhaps the Space Invaders deciding not to invade this time, as Team Pixie gets a total free win. Now we move on to the Chili Peppers and the Snapping Turtles, both teams that have been great over the past few events, trying to move up in the standings. Right now it's 2-2, but Bowser falls off for the Turtles, and the Chili Peppers lose one as well. It's going to be a 1-1 draw here, a very low-scoring matchup, but that means it's going to be a draw for these teams. It's going to be close heading into the next matchup. So far, both of these first 2 matches here in this group have started with the 2 points on the board between the 2 teams, and we'll have to see maybe this group going to be lower scoring than the rest, but unlike back in the previous season, the low scoring doesn't really matter as long as you manage to get the win. Now the Turtles and Team Pixie, it looks like the Turtles have an advantage. They lose 2 up to the top right, and now we'll see, can these 2 marbles arrest their momentum? Yes, they will, and that means it's going to be another draw, 2-2. But of course, Team Pixie with a win and a draw are sitting pretty as long as they can manage to get something good in that final matchup. The Snapping Turtles with 2 draws is going to be tricky. We'll have to see how their results go here, depending on how this next matchup goes for them. They're definitely one of those teams in the podium fight now that they've gotten a few medals in the past few events. But now we move on to the Flying Saucers and the Chili Peppers. Our hosts on the left side struggled in the first matchup, and it looks like they're struggling here. They have 2 still going. One of them falls off to the top left, but it looks like the Chili Peppers also only have 2, and that means it will be yet another 2-2 draw. I mentioned our hosts have struggled a lot this season. They've gotten last in quite a handful of events, and another draw here. We'll have to see. It's really going to come down to that final matchup for both of these teams. The Snapping Turtles as well, also on 2 draws. Really, Team Pixie just has a big advantage here. As now we move on to the Snapping Turtles and the Flying Saucers. Both teams fighting to advance here, as the Snapping Turtles have Bowser sitting in the middle. Everyone else falls off, and 1-0, the Snapping Turtles will be winning it. Snapping Turtles, I don't know how Bowser managed to do that. Look at that, perfectly arresting their momentum, dead center in the stadium, and just watching as the rest of the marbles fall, and that will be enough. 1-0, the Snapping Turtles winning this one, I think, guarantees they will be advancing. We'll have to see first to see if the Chili Peppers can challenge them, or Team Pixie. Team Pixie also looks solid in their first match. Can they get another win here? It looks like they'll have a very explosive launch, but they're the only ones left with marbles on the board. They lose 2 of them, but another 1-0 matchup. Of course, this time not quite as flashy with Bowser in the middle, but either way, Team Pixie will be winning it, and with 2 wins, I think that guarantees the reigning gold medalist in this event from Season 2 will be moving on here as well, 1-0 against the Chili Peppers. Of course, we'll have to see how the standings turn out, as they will be winning this one. 5 points over the Snapping Turtles with 4. Very big disparity between the top 2 and the bottom 2 here, as the Chili Peppers and Flying Saucers will not be moving on. And the Flying Saucers are going to get dead last again this season. They've gotten so many of those. The 4K Pixels will get 11th, which is at least top half of the bottom half, which they definitely needed, seeing their rivals, the Ivy League, are in the bracket up against Loaves of Bread. Of course, first we have the Snapping Turtles and the Red Rockets. But who will be claiming the gold here? Here we go now. It's suddenly there's no more second chances. You have to perform in your first matchup. It looks like the Snapping Turtles still have 2 on the board. Now they only have 1 on the board. They had a free win. It's not going to say it stay on, but Bowser falls off. Bowser fumbles it, and despite having that flashy moment in their last matchup, suddenly it has all fallen away, and in what should have been a victory for them, they had terrible team where Bowser practically shoved Yertle off, and then they rolled off themselves. The Red Rockets with Fuselage just got to sit and watch as the Snapping Turtles self-destructed, and that means the Red Rockets are moving on to the top 4. Now the Ivy League and the Loaves of Bread. The Ivy League, a win here would be huge for them. It looks like the Loaves of Bread have lost a couple. The Ivy League haven't lost a single marble, though, and that means the Ivy League will be getting that huge top 4 I mentioned. That is big for them now. They have a 75% chance at getting a medal, with the 4K Pixels getting 11th here. They can't quite clinch the championship, I think, but they could definitely make it very difficult for the 4K Pixels to catch up in these final 2 events. Probably the highest scoring match we've seen all day of 5-3, and that is a statement for the Ivy League. Now the Stone Golems and the Jelly Jammers, who will be coming out on top. It looks like the Jelly Jammers lose a lot of them immediately. The Stone Golems will be losing one here, and will they lose another? I don't think they will. The Jelly Jammers have that one just barely nestled on that blue domino, but that will be enough. The Stone Golems are moving on, and the Season 2 hosts might be finally getting something going here, trying to get a medal this season. They got that one back in elimination race, and unfortunately the Jelly Jammers cannot say the same. They will not be getting a medal here. They got 4th back in that same event, elimination race, but here it just won't be happening for them. Unfortunately, they'll be stuck with 5th through 8th. Now the Azure Diamonds and Team Pixie for our final matchup. Will the reigning gold medalists win? It looks like right now they have a bit of an advantage. The Azure Diamonds lose another marble there, and Team Pixie, even if this one falls off, which it will, it's not going to matter. Team Pixie is moving on to the top 4. Perhaps a bit unsurprising here, but the Azure Diamonds are also pretty great at this event back in the B League in Season 2. Unfortunately, it's just not going to happen for them, and the Azure Diamonds are another one of those teams that's been very quiet so far this season. They were great in distance drag where they got that gold, but that was all the way back in Event 4, and now we're at 14. Here we can see the results of 5th through 8th. The Snapping Turtles getting 7th is big for them, but of course, with a lot of those podium contenders still in, the Red Rockets and Team Pixie, that's not good for their chances at getting on the overall podium. Here we can see the final 4 now. The Red Rockets, Ivy League, Stone Golems, and Team Pixie fighting for the gold medal. Here we go, our Season 2 champions versus the team trying to become Season 3 champions. It looks like the Red Rockets have a big advantage here. The Ivy League have lost all but one of their marbles, and that's going to be the end of it. The Red Rockets will be moving on to the finals, and the 4K Pixels can breathe at least a little bit of a sigh of relief, knowing the Ivy League will not be getting at least 20 points here. That is big for them, but the Red Rockets, that is also big for them, trying to get onto the overall podium. They've gotten overall podiums in the past 2 seasons, and this time they seem to be on a crusade to get back there. But first we move on to Team Pixie and the Stone Golems. We've seen Team Pixie win this event before. Can they do it again? It looks like they will be knocking a lot of the Stone Golems marbles aside, but it's 2-2. Will that one Team Pixie marble fall off? Oh, they'll just barely stay on, and that means it's going to go to a tiebreaker now. We can't just have a draw in the bracket, of course, but we can see right there was a very interesting mixture, a very interesting collision, of course, but either way, Team Pixie just barely managed to hang on with that one marble, not managing to knock over the domino. That is huge for them, just barely arresting their momentum. But now it's time for the tiebreaker. The 2 marbles that stayed on, the dominoes stay off, and here we go. Team Pixie loses one, Stone Golems lose one, but Team Pixie, they're rolling way too fast, and that's going to be the end of it. Automaton for the Stone Golems is the only one left standing, and that means the Golems are on to the finals up against the Red Rockets. Team Pixie will not become 2-time Collision gold medalists, but they might still become 2-time Collision medalists, depending on how they do up against the Ivy League. The Stone Golems, though, getting it done here. This might be another chance for a gold medal here. The Red Rockets and Stone Golems will be fighting, each of them trying to get their 2nd golds of the season. But first we have that bronze medal match between the Ivy League and Team Pixie. Can the Ivy League get their 6th medal of the season? They've never gotten 6 medals in a season before, believe it or not. But either way, it looks like Team Pixie are losing a lot of marbles. The Ivy League are as well. The Ivy League only have 1 left. They're trying to sort of snipe the Team Pixie marble from across the stage. That's not going to work. They will not knock that other marble off, and that means that's the end of it. 2-1 will be the deciding score, and Team Pixie gets the bronze here. Another collision medal for them, another team event medal for them. They're very skilled at both of those types of events, and the Ivy League, unfortunately, will be coming away with only 4th place, but that is another somewhat sigh of relief for the 4K Pixels, as now we move on to the final, the Stone Golems and the Red Rockets. Here we go. It looks like the Red Rockets get launched sort of to the side, but they still have 3 on, and it looks like everybody's already stayed on. The Red Rockets will be claiming the gold medal here. The Stone Golems, unfortunately, will not be able to say the same, but the Red Rockets are getting it done here, and their march toward the top of the standings continues ever onward, even into Collision. This was one of the events back in Season 2 that really made a statement for them to try and get the championship. And here, I don't know if they'll still be able to win the championship with the Ivy League getting top 4, but either way, it's going to be enough to get on the overall podium, I think, depending on how their scores compare to Team Pixie, the Stingrays, the Snapping Turtles, so many other teams they're up against. But either way, here you can see the full results, the Red Rockets getting it done. And how many times have I said this before? The Red Rockets are on top of the podium. All three of these teams were in this event back in Season 2, and all of them have evidently learned from their experience. As we see the standings now, 3 teams are still in contention. Of course, there's almost 20 points separating the top 2, and almost 30 points down to 3rd place. The Red Rockets have a narrow advantage over all of those teams that can still podium, including the Stone Golems, all the way down to them. But of course, the main contenders are the Red Rockets and Team Pixie with 2 events to go. The Stingrays and Snapping Turtles have a fighting chance at that overall podium, but a lot of eyes are on the Ivy League and the 4K Pixels with 2 events to go. Who will be claiming one of the most dominant championships in marble sports history? We'll have to see as we head into the next event, which will be the long-awaited Big Tower. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.